Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Sade Boo. If you are new here, thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for being interested in what this story time is going to be about, because it is going to be about the love of my life, my son. And I hope you enjoy it. This video actually was connected to his birthday vlog, but I decided to cut it out and just make it a story time for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your post notifications. So let's get into the video. I had Zion September 5th, 2008. I was 6.5 months pregnant. I was about 28, 29 weeks pregnant. And I was working for the U.S. Open only for like 2 weeks, because the U.S. Open is not that long, maybe 2-3 weeks. I didn't feel like any pressure, like it was pressure on my body, because I used to take my time. But one day while I was at work, and I was like, oh, I feel like, to my supervisor, oh, I feel like I got to use the bathroom. And so I went to the bathroom, and I don't know, I just got a feeling like I had to push. So I called my mother. I said, Ma, I feel like I got to push. She was like, well, first things first, why are you calling me first? Why are you not calling your child's father? So I was like, Ma, stop, come on. So then she's like, well, Sade, then you might have to go to the hospital. You can't push, girl, it's not time. So I'm like, okay. So I call my son's father, who is just not good under pressure whatsoever, at least then. And so I'm like, I feel like I have to push and whatever. So he's like, well, you're going to have to go to the hospital then. So I'm like, well, I'ma see. So then I come out, I go to my supervisor, Rhonda. I forgot her last name. Shout out to you, Rhonda. That was my girl. So I go to Rhonda and I'm like, Rhonda, I feel like I gotta push. She like, Sade, you can't push, it's not time. So I'm like, I don't know, I feel weird. I feel funny. So then I had like a little bit of like some slimy stuff, which I guess is called the mucus plug, right? I believe that's what they call it. So I was feeling like this slimy stuff. So she was like, oh no, you're going to have to go to the hospital, Sade. Now, the U.S. Open already has an ambulance there just in case one of the players or somebody gets hurt or injured or anything of that sort. So the police came, they put me in on this like a wheelchair, and they put me inside the back of the ambulance. I went there, they had me in a room, I filled out some paperwork. This is New York Queens Hospital, shout out to them. I went, and so I'm there, and I'm like crying a little bit, and I'm just like, it's not time. Is my baby gonna be okay? I just didn't know what was what. So I'm like, now I'm trying to tell you as much as I can remember to a T. So I'm laying in the bed and stuff like that, and they're just like, well, Sade, we're going to do our best to try to keep you from going into full labor, but it seems like the labor process has already started. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's not time. I'm about to hit 7 months, or was just hitting 7 months the next day, something of that sort. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not time. That's all I kept saying. So they gave me a shot or something to kind of, I guess, restrict my body from going into labor and doing what it naturally does. I believe I was able to sustain for at least 30 hours, I believe. Because it was a little bit over 24 hours. Yeah, I believe it was like maybe 30 hours, 36 hours, right? That day I went in. The next day I went into labor. I went in September 4th. And I gave birth September 5th. Like around 4-ish. But when I went into the hospital, it was the morning of the September 4th. So it was definitely over 30 hours. Like, I'm telling you, the contractions, I felt a little something, but I didn't feel nothing like crazy, like how I felt the second time with Royalty. It didn't feel like nothing crazy. So anyway, I push him out. My child's father, he was there, but then he left. because he thought that I was gonna hold it. Because I think the plan was to keep me in the hospital until my due date. I believe that was the plan that they were talking about. And this was in September. My due date was in November, towards the end of November. So I believe they were going to try their hardest to keep me in there as long as possible, or until they felt it was comfortable for me to have the baby. My son's father ended up leaving, and when it was time for me to push, he was already back into the city from off the train. Because remember, I'm in Queens. So he rushes back to come back to Queens now. And I pushed Zion out in 2 pushes. It's like he slid out like a little worm. Like, it was 1, 2, 3. He was out. So it just seemed very, very easy. I know that's not everybody's story. But the only thing is, he was 3 pounds when I pushed him out. And I literally could hold him in my hand. I have a computer with footage and video and stuff. And I keep saying that I'm going to get it fixed so that I could show him the footage and everybody else who didn't see it. And you guys, but I haven't done it yet. But he was 3 pounds. And he was in, you can hold him in the palm of your hands. And I remember after I pushed him out, they took him. They put him on in the incubator thing, and they rushed him to ICU. And my son's father, I guess that's when he was coming. He rushed right past them, and I don't think he knew that that was our son in there, because he came in the room and he was like, "Sha, you already had the baby?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "They just rushed him out." He was like, "Oh, that was them running past me." So I got some rest, and then I got to go see my baby, and he was so little. And I was like, there's no way a big girl like myself gave birth to this little itty bitty baby. There's no way. So then they started telling me like he had hemorrhaging of the brain and certain things. His eyes was covered for a long time. He was in the hospital for a while. And he didn't have like no real like color to him yet, no melanin or anything like that. He was like really raw pinkish. And I remember there was a day that because they couldn't really tell me if he was going to like survive due to the hemorrhaging of the brain, which is bleeding in the brain, which is due to the underdevelopment of just, you know, he was still cooking in the wound. It wasn't time for him to come out. So things hadn't developed completely yet. And I remember them telling me, you don't really know how it's going to affect him if he makes it, unless he's in a school setting and you see how he kind of processes things, how he, you know, you won't really know until he starts growing, basically. And they were like, he's probably going to be really small. And I was like, oh my God, my baby is going to be a small person, which is nothing wrong with that. But this is all the stuff that I'm thinking about then. And mind you, I was 20 or 21 years old. So then there was a time that a priest came in there to see me, and I didn't have an attitude, but I was very on the defense because I didn't want nobody to come. Usually when I feel like when you see a priest, they're prepping you for the worst. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to prep for the worst. I was believing that God was gonna, you know, he had my baby and my baby was gonna be okay. And there was a day that me and my mother was at the hospital. My mother came to see him, and he was in the incubator. At this time, his eyes wasn't covered anymore. His eyes were open. You could tell he sees, hold on to your little, your finger or whatever. And the boy was doing push-ups, and I have it on video. My son was doing push-ups in the incubator. I know that people wouldn't believe me. But he was on his stomach, he was on his hands like this, and he was pushing himself up and using his feet, and he kept going up and down. I was like, this baby is doing a push-up. He gonna be all right. That's when I knew my son was gonna be okay. And it was very, very hard. It was very hard. It was very, very hard. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know nothing about being a mother. And people could say, oh, you know, you have experience with children, nieces, nephews, cousins, babysitting other people's kids. There's nothing like having your own children. And my son has come such a long way. And even with like the autism, and my son just, he's come a long way. And I'm happy I got through this story without crying, because I said I knew I was going to cry. But I'm very, very grateful. God is good. I look at my son and I know that God is real. If I never even had an experience for myself to know that God is real, looking at my son, I know that God is real. So I know what he can do. I know what's possible. And I know looking at him that there isn't anything that's not possible. And I'm really proud to be his mother. I'm happy that he's my child. I'm glad that God gave me the opportunity to carry him in my womb. I'm happy that I'm his mother. I'm proud to be his mom. And, you know, sky's the limit. Zion is who he is. He's very introvert. He's very, very, he can be loving. He can be all of those things. But if you know, and he's very high functioning. So if you know anything about high functioning autistic children, especially the introvert ones, when they want to embrace and hug and be affectionate and all of those things, you have to take it. When they don't want it, they don't want it. So he has boundaries. He sets them. We respect them, and we respect him for who he is, how he is, the things he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do, and we just always encourage him to be his best and put his best foot forward like we do all the children. And I'm just so happy that he has made it to 17, and I wish him many, many more. And I love you, Zion. And I wouldn't change anything. I would do it all over again, because it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. So yes. And yeah. So I just wanted to give that backstory to you guys. Well, I guess that's a story time about my son. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that story time. Listen, having these kids, raising these kids, it's not always easy, but in the end, it is always worth it. And one thing about having children, you never know. People always say, plan, plan, plan. You cannot plan for children. You don't know when, you don't know where, and you don't know how. No matter how much planning you do, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. You don't know anything. All you can do is pray and hope for the best. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video and the story time. If you want more story times, let me know, because I have some stories to tell. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I love you guys.